Hi, it's Reggie from Greenscape, and today I'm going to be talking you through how an air source heat pump actually works and why it is one of the most efficient, carbon neutral ways to heat your home. The thing with an air source heat pump is that it uses a low pressure refrigerant fluid within the unit outside. Essentially what it's doing is it's pulling the outside air in, passing that over a low pressure refrigerant fluid, which is boiling it, turning it into a gas. It's then squeezing that gas. The tighter you squeeze it, the hotter it becomes, and then there's a plate heat exchanger. So that's the gist of how an air source heat pump works. Essentially, it's like a fridge in reverse. That's why the back of your fridge, freezer, whatever it may be, gets a bit hot. It's got the coil on the back. It's important to note that a fridge isn't making your sandwich cold. What it's doing is extracting all of the energy out of that sandwich and kicking it out of the back. It sounds strange because when it's minus 20 degrees, there's actually loads and loads of heat in that air, which is ready to be extracted. There's energy in the air all the way down to minus 273 degrees Celsius or 0 degrees Kelvin, which means that actually at minus 20, it's pretty hot, and we can pull that energy out of the air, use it to heat our hot water, which is then going to be passed through our radiators, our hot water cylinder, and run like a normal heating system. How your existing traditional boiler is going to be working is your thermostat in the room is going to be 22 degrees if that's where you've set it and where you want it. It will work out, hey, it's cold in here, it's not 22 degrees in this room, therefore send a signal to the boiler will kick on and it will burn and burn and burn and burn, blasting 70 degree temperatures through those radiators until that thermostat tings and it says, yep, 22 degrees in here, and then it shuts everything off. So you essentially lose all of that heat again, and then you're gonna have to go again. So you have great big spikes of heating, and that is because your thermostat's saying, we need heat, stop. We need heat, stop. Over and over again. Great big peaks and troughs. So the thing with an air source heat pump is because you're going through that vapor compression cycle where you're squeezing that gas, the tighter you squeeze it, the hotter it becomes, which allows you to vary the compression which you're putting on the gas and therefore vary the temperature of your output. It means that the air source heat pump can work out, it's mild outside, we've got big radiators, it's going to heat up really, really nicely. So we only need to squeeze that gas a little bit in order to get all of the heat that we need. And then on the flip side, when it's blisteringly cold outside, all the way down to minus 20 degrees, the air source heat pump is going to be monitoring that outside temperature, working out, hey, we're gonna need some heat here. And then it will use that compressor to squeeze really, really tight. As I say, the tighter you squeeze it, hotter it becomes, in order to ramp up that heat to run through your radiators. This is called weather compensation, and it's one of the biggest differences between a traditional boiler and an air source heat pump. The main difference with the air source, with the weather compensation mode, is that it runs all the time. You don't have to worry about having cold spots in your house or flashes of heat, it's too hot and then all of a sudden it's not hot at all, because the air source heat pump will be changing 1 degree at a time. Once we've got this house to the temperature that we want it to be at 22 degrees, it's very easy and it takes not very much energy just to keep it there. Just keep ticking along at that temperature. However, if you let that room, like a boiler does, go cold before it turns back on, you need more energy and you're going to be burning more fossil fuels in order to get that to the temperature you want it to be. With an air source heat pump, you get to temperature and you leave it alone. Radiators are such a peculiar thing in my mind because whenever you're looking at changing your heating system, people would be like, replace your boiler, change this. Nobody ever does a full heat loss analysis and works out exactly what radiators you need. However, the fact of the matter is, you can install a nuclear power station onto your house. If your radiator is only this big, you're only going to get that much heat out of it. The radiator is the key in order to move that heat from your boiler, from your air source heat pump, into your house. But no one seems to look at it enough. So why would you have a tiny radiator that isn't going to be heating the room up and is going to cost you a fortune to run when you can increase the size of the radiator and then be more comfortable, more cost efficient? The air source heat pump will work out, hey, we don't have to squeeze that hard. because we only need 35 degrees to run through that radiator to give enough heat into the room. So that is why bigger radiators generally are going to be better for your heating system, because it will have to work less hard to get the rooms to temperature. The heat loss analysis is one of the most important parts of installing an air source heat pump, because we need to know exactly what radiator we need to give the exact right amount of heat for each individual room, and then we can add up all of the heat loss of all of the individual rooms, and then we'll be able to add them all together and say the total heat loss when it's X degrees outside and Y degrees inside is this. That means that we can specify the air source heat pump. It's not like a boiler where just put a bigger boiler in, it will be fine, because all it's doing is burn and burn and burn and burn and then turning off. With an air source heat pump, there are two issues with getting the sizing wrong. If you size it too small, it's simply not going to have the power to heat your house. Whereas if you oversize your unit and you have this mains gas mentality of just stick a bigger unit in, which is what they seem to do on new builds all of the time without doing proper heat loss analysis, they put a big unit onto that house and then the unit will short cycle. Short cycling is when you install an air source heat pump that is too big for the property. Essentially what will happen is the air source heat pump will get all of the water in your system's temperature too quickly, which means that the heat doesn't have time to dissipate into the rooms. So the worst thing that you can do is oversize your unit where that short cycling is going to occur. Oversizing your unit is a big problem. Undersizing your unit, slightly less of a problem, but still a big problem because you want to be hot. I have been rambling at this camera. I usually will write down these are the things that I want to talk about, whereas today, because air source has been my life for the past 8 years, I am just throwing it all at you. It's probably too much information at once, but essentially they're the crux of how does an air source work. The radiators need to be sized properly, the unit needs to be sized properly, and to do that we need to do a full heat loss analysis where we can create a 3D model of your house, work out exactly what we need in order to give you a proposal on what air source heat pump is going to be the best solution for you. So if that's something that you're interested in, getting us round where we can design that full system rather than just, hey, here's a boiler replacement and it's going to cost $3,000. We can work out exactly what you need to have the most renewable, the most economical house possible. All you need to do is just give us a call, we'll come and do the survey, we'll work out what's best for you, and then we let you make the decision. There's no pressure, we know what we're doing, we've done it for 13 years. We've got 900 air source installs. We aim to be a little bit more premium because if you do it wrong, you'll really know about it. If you do it right, it will be the best thing that you've ever done.